going to die imminently, within a week, within an hour, I don't know. And it's possible she'll survive a bit more than a week. But these things, these end of life things, are very difficult to predict. I know a journalist who went to Spain to cover the death of Franco, who's going to die within a week. He lived for 6 weeks, depending on the will to live and how much the doctors intervene, because they know they can prolong her life by a bit. Does she want to live that much longer? I don't think so. And are the doctors going to strive to keep her alive officiously, to paraphrase Arthur Hugh Clough? So Her Britannic Majesty is at Balmoral, her private residence in Scotland. Only 2 days ago, she appointed her, let me see, 15th Prime Minister, Liz Truss, as her 14th Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, stepped down. So she always spends August and September at Balmoral. But there's been an official statement from Buckingham Palace saying the following. Following further evaluation this morning, the Queen's doctors are concerned for Her Majesty's health and have recommended she remain under medical supervision. It went on to say that the Queen is comfortable. So she's 96 years old, and as I said months ago, she's dying of bone cancer, that hasn't been officially disclosed. I know that through unofficial channels. She stopped treatment some months ago. She willed herself to live through this, her Platinum Jubilee year, 70 years as Queen. But I think now she's giving up the ghost. She's been in pain for some time. Her husband died in April last year. Now, although her mother lived to 101, that obviously doesn't guarantee that Elizabeth II is going to live to 101, despite the advance of medical science in the 20 years since her mother died. So it is unique that the Buckingham Palace has put out a statement like this, saying that the whole family are coming to her side. They've been told to come urgently because she's dying now, which doesn't necessarily mean this minute. It could be a few days. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe be a fortnight. But it's not going to be long. So I'm flying up to Aberdeen, and it's a 40-mile drive from Aberdeen Airport to Balmoral. And over those narrow, twisty country roads, that's well over an hour. So the Princess Royal, that's the Queen's only daughter, Prince Anne, is already there. And the Duchess of Cambridge, she's staying in Windsor with her children who've just started school for this year. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, as in Harry and Meghan, they're already in London. They were there for some charity do, but they're going up. So it's a last time chance for Prince Harry to say goodbye to his grandmother, whom he has so grievously hurt over the past couple of years. Only days ago that Meghan Markle was taking yet another pop at the royal family, lacerating the Queen as she lays dying. It's just so sick. And she had to shake hands with Truss. Well, of course, Liz Truss had to kiss her hand. That's the physical action the new Prime Minister does, but they didn't actually take a photo of that bit. So clearly the Queen's physicians are very troubled about her health, and that's it. Remember, the statement was put out by King George V in 1936 by his personal physician, Lord Dawson of Penn. The King's life is drawing peacefully to a close. So we've been warned, steel yourself. Imagine she's dead. Picture her as a corpse. It's difficult to do. It's hard to think of a life post Elizabeth II, but it's going to happen. They've gradually been taking over for years. There's been a transition. Prince Charles will be proclaimed king. The rumour is that he will reign by the last of his middle names. He will be King George VII, not King Charles III. So the Privy Council is there. They know the Queen's health is brittle, so she is very close to the end. I mean, even if she somehow pulls through this, she's not going to see Christmas. So the Prime Minister is obviously in another situation, and she said that the whole country is deeply troubled by this. Okay, so people are praying for the Queen, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, he's the highest priest in England, and he has called upon the nation to pray for Her Majesty. She is, of course, the head and supreme governor of the Church of England, and that the Archbishop of Canterbury said, "May God's presence strengthen and comfort Her Majesty, her family, and those who are caring for her at Balmoral." So we know the Queen's time is not long. She's not going to be long in this world. So the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, he said he's deeply worried, the First Minister of Scotland, and so far passed on her good wishes. So did the First Minister of Wales, and so on. So there's no changing of the guard ceremony at Buckingham Palace. That's been cancelled, the first time since coronavirus. Charles has Tory and Jacobite connotations, I guess. Well, also Charles I, Charles the King, who chose to die rather than the faith deny. Charles II, who was in some ways a bad monarch, who had 20 children. Trouble was none of them with his wife. Yeah, and James II, they're not going to have another James for obvious reasons. So that is it. They haven't mentioned Prince Andrew being there, but I'm sure he is. And in the news, they're reporting live who's landing at Aberdeen Airport, trying to figure out is that royal or not. But they don't go on the main exit. They're met by a Range Rover just as they step off the plane and drive out a side gate. And not like they're going to go through passport control. Well, it's a domestic airport, domestic flight anyway. So that's it. Get ready. So what will happen is the heralds, they will gather outside St James's Palace, London. That's the official residence of the House of Windsor, not Buckingham Palace. St James's Palace, which is much older, which is a 16th century palace, was a monastery before that. Even though people always think of Buckingham Palace, no, it's St James's Palace. They know the royal family has lived there for centuries, and that's why an ambassador to the United Kingdom is called ambassador to the court of St James. And the royal herald will announce, whereas it has pleased Almighty God in his infinite wisdom to call to his mercy our late sovereign lady Elizabeth Alexandra Mary of happy and glorious memory. So the crown does solely and rightfully pass to our noble Lord Charles Louis Philip Arthur George, and so on. I can't quite remember the whole spiel. So that with one consent of tongue and heart, we publish and proclaim him King Charles of that name, King George of that name, the seventh, defender of the faith, head of the Commonwealth, King of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and his realms and possessions beyond the seas and territories unto them appertaining. And I missed out a bit of others. We therefore together, the Privy Council, together with the Lord Mayor, aldermen, citizens of other gentlemen, together with other principal gentlemen of quality and representatives of the Commonwealth, and so on. And so they're saying, God save the King. So the Queen is dead, God save the King. So although the Queen is dead, the crown instantaneously passes to Prince Charles. As I say, people claim he will rule as George VII. That's not confirmed. I mean, the Queen's name, as I said, is Elizabeth Alexandra Mary, but she chose to reign as Elizabeth. You might have seen it in The Crown. But she could have chosen one of her middle names, Alexandra or Mary, to reign under that one. So remember where you heard it first. Why did she stop treating for bone cancer? Was it ineffective? Did she just not want to live much longer? It gets to that stage. She had mobility problems, severe ones. She was in pain. So will this lead to the abolition of the monarchy in Australia? Some Australians said this was the opportune moment, or indeed Jamaica, things like that. Will that weaken the union? Some of the Scots who have a sentimental link to her say, well, let's leave the United Kingdom. However, the SNP's model is to retain the monarchy. Is Prince Charles to be King of Scots as well as King of the United Kingdom without Scotland? So we shall see. So I think we'll miss her. I don't think so much respect will automatically accrue to Prince Charles, who hasn't been wise, who wasn't always kept stum, who should have kept his trap shut and not voiced his opinions a lot. So he says he shan't opine when he's king. He's not that stupid. He won't vociferate for causes close to his heart. So what do you think? I mean, I hate to play this game. It feels fairly morbid. How much longer is she going to live? They have taken this highly unusual step, which signals just how close to the end she is. She's got the best medical care available. I think another sign that she doesn't really want to live much longer is she's not in hospital. That'd be the obvious thing to do. With Prince Philip earlier last year, 2021, they tried to give us a warning. He was ill. He was in hospital for about a month. He went home awaiting his death. He decided he was going to do that. He wasn't going to stay in hospital to the very end. Right. Thank you for watching. So please tell all your friends and neighbors, get your black suits and white shirts and black ties ready and black armbands. It'll be a spectacular funeral, perhaps 10 days after she dies. The coronation won't take place till next summer, to 2023, end of June, early July, when they can assure the weather is excellent. Wait for a long enough time, a decent period of mourning, enough time to invite various heads of state, so all the presidents, kings and queens in the world will have a date in their diary they can come. Thank you for watching, everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye.